Peace and blessings. Namaste to all light warriors, workers, and everything in between. It is I, Sophie, today, but I'm coming with you with a rut roll, as I'm so inclined to do. And this one is going to tackle a pretty deep subject matter. And we're dealing with the conundrum of free will. And if you understand free will the way that I understand free will, you will definitely see that there is a conundrum associated with it. And we're getting ready to break this down. So let's start right now. Number one, source energy, or the universe, okay? A lot of these terms, God as well. A lot of these terms are being passed around all throughout YouTube, okay? Oh, I got source energy. We're connected with source. We're connected with source. So this is that and this, and I understand it. And my idea of source is Ein Sof, okay? That is 0 point, where all things started to manifest from a mental state, okay? That is my idea of source. Okay, now, because I understand this, I also understand that both positive and negative emanations come forth from source. Okay, now this is the polarity that we deal with in the realm of chaos, where we are currently residing right now. Okay, so we have this polarity. They're not actually opposites, they're varying degrees of the exact same thing, and they're here on this realm of chaos. Okay, so both negative and positive emanations exist, and they're all connected to source. So we can't say, all right, I know and I'm divine because I'm connected with source. Everything is connected with source. All right, the $1 million question is, if you are a free will being, a sovereign being, okay, if you're free will and you're sovereign, because that's what free will means, that I am a sovereign individual. I am sovereign in my divinity. I make my own decisions, okay? And this is how I choose to govern my life, all right? So if you're a sovereign individual that's operating here on your own free will, what is the marker that you are using to identify whether or not you are making good decisions or bad decisions? Because if it's all free will, none of this matters, correct? And once again, I can't say that this is just because I'm connected with source, because we're all interconnected, which means everything is connected to source. So what are you using to identify whether or not you are making righteous decisions? Think about that for a second, and then we'll come back to that a little bit later. Number two, okay, free will is a beautiful thing once you have reached a certain level of consciousness and understanding. So my question to you, is free will applicable to everyone? All right, let's take this from a parental standpoint. Do you give your 2-year-old free will? No. Why? Why not? Because you know your 2-year-old doesn't know enough to govern himself, okay? And this has been a perpetual thing with humanity for a very long time. So what do we do as parents? We implement law. What an example of law, okay? Your 2-year-old is getting close to the stove. Hey, don't touch that. That's hot and it will burn you. So now the child, if it's an obedient child, knows that that's a law. We're not going to touch the stove. A disobedient child is going to touch the stove and get burnt anyway. Hey, it's a learning curve. You know, some people are just very stubborn. You know, they have to learn things on their own, and that's okay. That's okay too. All right, but that becomes a law in your house. And then as this child starts to get a little bit older, get into the tween phases, things like that, then we start showing them how to make hot dogs and eggs and bake things, like little things, until before you know it, it is a master chef. And guess what? The law no longer applies to that person anymore. But if that child did not have the capability to operate a stove without burning themselves, the law would still be in place. Do you see where I'm getting at with this? The reason why I am bringing this out to you right now is because of the mass teachings, because of the mass movements. And it's okay because there's a lot of YouTube celebrities, and there's a lot of people that are coming out with their truth and they're speaking their truth. But you will notice that there is a common theme with it. And how many are actually coming out to tell you that there are consequences and a conundrum that is connected to free will, that you, as a sovereign being, have to try to break down and make work for you. Why? Because a negative being can operate in their own free will too. You see? But it is your free will choice if you want to cuss somebody out because you didn't like what they said. It is your free will choice if you want to walk past a homeless person and you've got plenty of money and lie and tell them that you don't. It is your free will choice to fight and fuss with everyone else. But there's always karmic law behind it, okay? So if there's consequences behind an action, then are you really operating in free will? Because if everything is free will, then why would we need law? Do you understand? This entire universe is structured under law and order. There's laws that are governing the rotations of the stars and the planets. There's gravity law that keeps us bound to this earth. There are hermetic principles and higher laws than that, okay? For one to achieve the ability to be completely sovereign and operate in their own free will, they have to have went through the processes of elevation with their consciousness to understand what would be good for humanity versus what would be bad for humanity, okay? So these are varying degrees of understanding that we all go through while we're here in this realm of chaos. And guess what? We knew it before we entered into this realm of chaos. We just went through the veil of forgetfulness, and we're all trying to reconnect with ourselves. We're all trying to get back to source, and we're doing it in the best way that we can. But remember, free will is just not one-sided, okay? Here's number 3 point that I want you to think about for a little bit while we're speaking about the free will. Humanity is a baby species. And there were beings that watched and governed this baby species. And these beings, some of them were horrified by the amount of violence and issues that a baby species had. You've watched toddlers in a daycare. They fight all the time. Scratch, bite, all of that stuff. These group of beings that decided to come and help humanity, some of them was for the light and advancement of humanity. Some wanted to take advantage of humanity because they did not think that they were intelligent enough to govern themselves. Even those of the light had an issue with the density of this realm. It is very, very easy when you are an advanced species to take advantage of a younger one. And it's very easy to get trapped and caught in this matrix system with pride because you know more than somebody else, or at least you think you do. At least you think you do. So some got into a lot of trouble, right? And humanity had been enslaved. What makes you think that that couldn't happen again? We'll leave that for another time. religious systems that was brought here on this earth was really, or should have been, designed to teach morality, and ethics so that we can live peaceably amongst one another, so we can understand the highest law, which is love, so that we can take care of our planet, our children, our communities, and so that we can build, and expand and keep advancing as we go. Unfortunately, a lot of religions got hijacked. And it took the entire purpose of these religious systems in a different direction to worship. Because let me explain something to you. When you do not have the ability to think for yourself, somebody else will think for you. And that goes both with light and dark. Do you understand? It's not just one-sided. We, once again, that's coming in here with this journey, can look and use the information that was given and left behind through these religious systems, through these ancestors, and wean out what was applicable, what was good for humanity, and what needs to be thrown out easily through observation. Okay? However, those that practiced certain religious practices, they learned that they weren't supposed to kill, that they weren't supposed to steal, that they weren't supposed to fight, that none of these things was necessary, that we can all get along even if we don't agree on a topic, okay? What about those who did not get this information? Would you hand over free will on a silver platter to a raging psychopath? Think about that. The reason why I'm asking you to think about that is because this is where we could be heading if we're not teaching correctly what free will is and how it applies to everything, not just the issues that we want to see corrected. But even to those that you feel are harmful, they have free will too. So either we have law or we have free will. We can have both? Yes, that is the correct answer. We can have both. The law is no longer applicable once a certain level of consciousness is reached, because you automatically know you're not supposed to do these things. Right? But for those who have not reached that higher level of consciousness, there has to be law. If there is not, then what you end up with is chaos on top of chaos. Now, there's varying forms of chaos, of course. There's controlled chaos. Yeah? Where it can only be, something going on for a season to implement another desired result, or a catalyst of change, organized chaos as well. Okay? But minds that are not as advanced, given the opportunity to have free will, can actually cause a lot of havoc. What am I proposing here? I'm not proposing anything. I'm just giving you information for you to think about, because this is your own choice. Do you understand? I'm just showing you how we were supposed to evolve past it so that we can have our sovereign divinity and our free will without all of the fighting. I just told you earlier, if you were paying attention, that if you do not have the ability to think for yourself, somebody else will think for you, and that's both light and dark. Chaos in this realm has become the norm. The matrix system has gotten way out of control. People are hungry. People are starving. People are homeless. People are at war with each other for nonsensical reasons. Guess what? Those who are at war, those who are implementing policies, they are operating in their free will. Do they think what they're doing is right? Possibly. Who knows? We don't think that it's right, though. So we operated in our free will to go up against it. But as you can see, there's a conundrum there. Can you figure that out? When you have to get to a point where you have to call in reinforcements because you're not brave enough to take a stand against injustice, because you're not strong enough, or you don't feel like you're strong enough to stand up and rise as a people, to the point where now you feel like you need outside help, don't be surprised if things aren't exactly what it seems. You can get outside help, and they can be very, very positive beings and actually want to assist humanity. But again, if you can't think for yourself, who's going to start thinking for you? Law is necessary when done correctly. Free will is beautiful when done correctly. But spitting it out to a masses of deprived people, depraved people, reprobate people, and giving them passes can also do a lot more harm than good. I hope you were reading between the lines. It's not too many people that's going to be willing to discuss this in the manner that I am discussing it, just to give you something to think about. And you can go ahead and choose whichever path that you want. But I'm making you aware that even though you went through the veil of forgetfulness when you entered in here, you have everything that you needed to say that I'm going to make it out of this successful. Free will, law, both, it is your choice. And no, I'm not pumping out fear, as some would suggest. Instead, why not look at it this way? If you are riding a bike on a mountain and I tell you, hey, before you get to that right curve, I need for you to slow down and bear to the left because there's no fences there. And if you go too quickly, you're going to fall right off the mountain and crash and burn. Did I pump you with fear? Or did I give you a warning so that you can be successful? See, even fear is about perspective for those who are way wiser than I am. Even fear is about perspective. Understand what free will means, okay? And the grand scope of things, and then understand that there are higher laws, and then ask yourself, if I'm a free will sovereign being, why am I still subjected to laws? You tell me. And also ask yourself this. If I get somebody else in my house because I am unruly, did I just turn over my power I am Sophie. I hope you get the message, and I love you all. Bye.